For 15 years, I've worked at Pinnacle Enterprises as a cleaning lady. Every day, I walked the high-rise hallways, cleaning up after the powerful executives who walked past me in their tailored suits, heads high, completely oblivious to my existence. I'd spent years scrubbing floors, emptying trash cans, and cleaning the luxurious offices of people who saw me as nothing more than a background figure. It was a job I had come to accept, and in some ways, I had grown numb to the routine. That was until the day Victor Lang, the CEO, humiliated me in front of everyone. It was just another morning, and I was in the break room trying to grab my coffee before heading back to my duties. In my rush, I accidentally knocked over my cup. The coffee spilled across the floor, splashed in the corner of the pristine meeting room. As I scrambled to clean it up, Victor walked in, his sharp eyes narrowing at the mess. "Clara can't even keep her coffee from spilling. How do we expect our cleaning staff to get anything right?" His words were like daggers, mocking me in front of everyone. The executives around him snickered, some pretending not to notice, but I felt every one of their stares. I froze, the anger building inside me. It wasn't just the coffee spill. It was the years of being overlooked, ignored, and belittled by people like him. The years of being treated like I was invisible. That moment sparked something inside me, a fire I hadn't felt in years. No more. I would not tolerate this disrespect any longer. That night, I sat down in front of the old box of papers my late uncle had left me when he passed away. My uncle had been a stockbroker, and he had owned shares in Pinnacle Enterprises. Quite a few shares, as it turned out. As I went through the documents, I realized the truth. Those shares had been passed down to me when he died. I was the majority shareholder of Pinnacle Enterprises. I had a power I had never known I possessed, and it was time to use it. I wasn't about to storm into the boardroom without being prepared. I contacted my lawyer friend Tom and told him everything. He was shocked, but he helped me see what I could do with this newfound power. I began quietly collecting evidence. Every time Victor and his team took advantage of people, I was there to document it. I witnessed the unfair layoffs, the way he manipulated financial reports, and the unethical decisions that lined his pockets while ruining the lives of the people who actually work hard. I made sure to keep track of everything, compiling it into a meticulous file of evidence. Months passed, and the day of the shareholders' meeting finally arrived. I walked into that meeting room, my heart racing but my resolve firm. The executives were gathered, talking over one another, oblivious to the storm that was about to hit them. When I stepped up to the podium, the room fell silent. Victor was sitting there, smug as ever, ready to lead the meeting. He barely acknowledged me as I took the floor, but I could see the slight tension in his posture. He had no idea what was coming. I cleared my throat and then I made my announcement. "I'm Clara Thompson, and I am the majority shareholder of this company." The room erupted into murmurs. Victor's face turned pale, his arrogant smile faltering. I continued, laying out the evidence I had gathered, piece by piece. Each lie, every fraudulent financial record, each unjust decision he made came to light in front of a room full of executives. The executives, who once saw him as untouchable, were now listening in disbelief as I exposed Victor's wrongdoings. The effect was immediate. Victor's confident demeanor crumbled, and by the end of the meeting he was out. No longer the CEO. The evidence I had presented was enough to ensure his downfall. He tried to fight it, of course, but it was futile. Legal action followed swiftly, and the consequences for Victor were severe. His empire, built on manipulation and deceit, came crashing down. But I didn't stop there. As I took control of Pinnacle, I saw how much work needed to be done. For years, the cleaning staff, the people who truly kept the place running, had been treated as less than. Their wages were poor, their work conditions were grueling, and their voices unheard. I vowed to change that. I worked to implement better wages, improve benefits, and more importantly, a culture of respect for everyone, no matter their position. The transformation was not immediate, but over time, Pinnacle became a company that valued its employees at every level. I didn't just want to run a business. I wanted to create an environment where people felt valued, where their contributions were acknowledged. It wasn't just about making money. It was about doing the right thing. Word of my action spread, and I became a symbol of resilience. People from other companies reached out, telling me how inspired they were by what I had done. The employees I had worked alongside for years, the ones who had been ignored and neglected, now saw me in a new light. They didn't see Clara, the cleaning lady, anymore. They saw someone who stood up, who fought back, and who had changed everything for the better. But even as I succeeded, there were still challenges ahead. Victor wasn't going to just fade into obscurity. He tried to retaliate, sending threatening messages and using his remaining connections to make my life difficult. It didn't matter. I wasn't scared of him anymore. I hired security for my team, ensuring that we were safe from any possible threats. The company was mine now, and I was going to protect it. And everyone who worked here, no matter what it took. A year later, Pinnacle had completely turned around. It wasn't just a business that had changed. The culture had transformed. Employees were happier, more motivated, and more loyal. Ethical practices were in place, and people at every level of the company felt like they were treated with the respect they deserved. As for Victor, he had faded into the background, his once promising career ruined. I heard he was selling condos somewhere far from the spotlight, a shadow of the powerful CEO he once was. Karma had done its work, and was a reminder to anyone who doubted that standing up for what's right can lead to true change. Pinnacle Enterprises was mine now, and I was determined to lead it with integrity and respect, creating a company that wasn't just about profits, but about people. The months after Victor's departure were filled with challenges, but they also brought a sense of purpose and determination I had never known before. The pressure was immense as I navigated my new role, but with every decision I made, I felt more and more empowered. I had spent years working in the shadows, always in the background, and now I was at the helm of a company that was once entirely out of my reach. The weight of responsibility wasn't easy, but I was driven by the changes I knew had to be made. At Pinnacle, the work culture had been toxic for far too long. The executives had been focused on their own gains, while the backbone of the company, the cleaning staff, the secretaries, the maintenance crew, had been treated as disposable. No more. I knew it wasn't just about changing the company's policies. It was about changing the mindset that had pervaded Pinnacle for decades. The first step was to overhaul the pay structure. I made sure that every employee, regardless of their position, received a fair wage. It wasn't just about raising salaries. It was about giving people the dignity they deserved. The cleaning staff, who had once been the silent, invisible workers, now had the opportunity to move up within the company, if they chose to. I implemented a new training program that allowed people to learn new skills and apply for different positions within the company, something that had never been considered before. Next, I tackled the treatment of employees. Pinnacle had a long history of overlooking the personal needs of its staff. Long hours, no benefits, and no appreciation. That was changing now. I introduced healthcare benefits for all employees, including the cleaning and maintenance staff. I also created a mentorship program where experienced employees could guide newer ones, helping them grow both professionally and personally. I worked closely with HR to ensure that every employee's voice was heard. Open-door policies were established, and regular town hall meetings were held where anyone, regardless of their rank, could share their thoughts and concerns. I wanted everyone at Pinnacle to feel like they were part of something bigger, that they mattered. But as the company began to thrive under this new vision, I knew I wasn't entirely safe. Victor's anger hadn't faded. He had been embarrassed, stripped of his title and his power, and he wasn't going to let that go without a fight. I received several threats over the course of the year, and each one was more menacing than the last. I knew that Victor had connections. His influence had been vast before his fall from grace, and now he was desperate to reclaim what he had lost. I refused to let fear take control of me. I wasn't going to hide. Instead, I made sure my team was protected. I hired security, not just for me, but for everyone who worked at Pinnacle. I wanted them to feel safe, knowing that they could come to work without fear of retaliation from a disgraced CEO. The threats didn't stop, but I wasn't deterred. I took legal action against Victor for the harassment, and my team rallied around me. No one was going to let a man who had caused so much damage return to the company, no matter how hard he tried. We were united, stronger than ever, and ready to defend what we had worked so hard to build. By the time the year came to a close, Pinnacle had transformed in ways I had never imagined. Our profitability had soared, but it wasn't just about the numbers. The true success lay in the atmosphere we had created, a place where people felt valued, a place where respect and integrity weren't just buzzwords, but guiding principles. Employees no longer feared retaliation for speaking out. They felt heard. They felt appreciated. As for me, I had finally found the courage to stand tall, not just for myself, but for everyone who had ever been ignored or belittled. My journey had been long and painful, but in the end, it was worth it. I had fought for what was right, and I had won. Victor, meanwhile, had sunk further into obscurity. I heard he was living a life far removed from the world of power he once knew. He had become a shadow of his former self, selling condos and fading into irrelevance. It was almost poetic, really. The once mighty CEO reduced to a mere seller of properties, his empire a distant memory. Pinnacle Enterprises was mine now, and it wasn't just mine in the sense of ownership. It was mine in the sense of responsibility. I had turned it into a place where people could thrive, where their voices mattered, where they were treated with the respect they deserved. I often reflect on how far I've come. From the invisible cleaning lady in the background to the leader of a company, I've learned that even the smallest person can change the course of the future. It's a lesson I'll never forget, that the power to change doesn't lie in titles or suits or high positions. It lies in standing up for what's right, even when the odds are stacked against you. The road ahead won't always be easy, but I'm not afraid. I've faced the worst, and I've come out on top. And as long as I'm here, Pinnacle Enterprises will be a company that stands for something more than profits. It will stand for the people who make it all possible.